Wow, we are here. You are here from all kinds of wonderful places. People from Canada, which is where I used to live until a few months ago. If there's anybody from Europe tuning in, please let me know. I just recently moved from Canada to Germany, which is where I am calling in today. Love the diversity of places that everybody's from, and I hope that you had a fun session yesterday. I already saw that somebody said it's going to be hard to top yesterday's sessions, and I did watch some replays, and yes, the lineup of this event that Ecamm is putting together is amazing. So I will do my best to deliver some value, but also we'll be doing a bunch of Q&A in the second half of this session. So what I would love to start with is I did a little survey, a little poll in my community of people who are leading trainings and workshops and running meetings and facilitate experiences on Zoom. What are your biggest challenges when it comes to Zoom? And I actually would love, if you are watching this, to share in the chat what are currently your biggest challenges when it comes to leading engaging Zoom meetings. And let's see if they line up with the ones that I have in mind. Because the first thing that I think happens way too much, it is something that I think everybody can remember, at least having experienced once. You're in your session, you ask a question, and then all you get is crickets and tumbleweeds, and nobody wants to answer the question. If that has happened to you before, let me know in the chat. Type a cricket in the chat, or if you want to post the cricket emoji, you're welcome to share that too. But that definitely is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to running experiences or meetings on Zoom. The second one that I see happen way too much, or at least people tell me that's one of their challenges, is this. They're the only one with their camera on. It's kind of like doing what I'm doing right now. There's a bunch of people who are watching, but I can't see their face. And people tell me that's something that is really challenging when you're trying to create something engaging, because you're not getting any feedback. At least now, as I'm seeing in the chat, a bunch of people writing crickets, at least there's a little bit of engagement happening. And then the last thing happens when people send their participants to breakout rooms, and suddenly, hold on, wrong button, and suddenly they start to disappear. And maybe this has happened to you before as well. You start off with a full Zoom room and you end up with just a few people who are still there. So if this has happened to you, again, let me know in the chat, because I think those are definitely some things that can easily be fixed by focusing on two things. And I'll be telling you what those two things are in a little bit. But first of all, the one thing that I have realized when the pandemic first happened in 2020, and all of the workshops and experiences that I used to do in person suddenly had to happen online. Luckily, I did have a background in video production, so setting this home studio up wasn't the issue, but I was not sold that we can actually create something where we can be present with each other. Because the other big challenge is, and somebody actually wrote this word for word, how can I make sure that participants don't check emails, pay their bills, or even order groceries while they're supposed to be engaging with me on Zoom? The truth is, we can't really tell if somebody's really present with us, if they're looking at the screen and at what you're sharing, or if they're just doing something else, surfing on social media, watching funny clips on YouTube. We don't really know. So when the pandemic first hit, I was like, I'm not sure if we can create any meaningful experiences, because what I used to do in person is I have people create this, which is a cell phone sleeping bag. And I would invite participants to take their phone at the beginning of a session and put it in this, it's literally just a padded envelope that I drew a sleeping bag on. we can seal it up and put that away. So now we can actually focus on connecting with each other and being present. But in 2020, we spent a lot of time over here, stuck in this laptop, sitting in front of the same spot, and we couldn't turn off technology anymore. So I decided, okay, I need to run some experiments. Especially I was thinking about all of the people who have, at the beginning of the pandemic, not have hugged someone in a long time. And if you ever meet me in person, I'm usually a big hugger. So I thought, let me try by organizing the world's largest virtual group hug. It was at the end of March, and I put together this Facebook event, invited all my friends, but I had no idea what that actually meant. How can we actually have a virtual group hug? Like, we can't touch, right? So what I said was, let's meet on Zoom. Everybody bring an object that is meaningful to you. And a few people showed up. Here's a couple of them. And some of them brought t-shirts and blankets that were meaningful. One person brought a box of matzo ball soup. And I thought, let me bring some things that I can share as well to hug, which were stuffed animals from my kids, a pillow, a blanket, and my wife also just got this huge box of toilet paper. It was the big toilet paper shortage of 2020, if you remember that. And just for fun, I thought, let me hug the toilet paper as well. And as I was hugging it, I was like, wow, this feels the most like a human. Like the stuffed animal was kind of too small. The blanket was wasn't any resistance. But the toilet paper was the most like hugging a small child. So I invited everyone to close their eyes. I played some emotionally charged music. I think it was some kind of movie soundtrack. I love using movie soundtracks as background because they really amplify the emotions in an activity. And I invited everyone to think of a hug that they've received in the past in person before everything started to shut down. And as the music was playing and I was closing my eyes and I was hugging my toilet paper, I remembered this moment with my son that actually happened just the week before, where he was terrified by the fire alarm in our building, and he came sprinting across the apartment towards me, and he gave me this huge hug, basically shaking out of fear of this loud noise that I couldn't turn off. And I realized in that moment that all I could do really to support him is giving a tight squeeze back. And it was that moment on the Zoom call where I realized, wow, all the people who live by themselves, who don't have partners, roommates, family, kids, even pets around, don't have that physical touch. And as we know, there are some people who really crave that touch. If you're familiar with the 5 love languages, there is one love language that is around physical touch. And I started to get really emotional. I started to tear up. And as I was opening my eyes, I realized that every single one of the other people on the Zoom call had a pretty emotional experience. And I realized in that experience, like, we spent another 45 minutes to an hour just debriefing and sharing how challenging it has been living through this pandemic and not having people around and having to figure out things differently. And I completely forgot that I'm still in this Zoom box, that I'm looking at a screen. I felt so connected to the other people that I completely forgot everything that was happening. So I had this, what I now call a magical human moment that happened on Zoom. And to me, that was the turning point. That was when I realized, okay, it's not impossible to create these meaningful, engaging experiences on Zoom. We just have to approach it a little bit differently. And we can't just recreate what we did in person and do it and on Zoom, because it just doesn't work. But there's a couple of things that we can do to make this a better experience. And fast forward a couple of months, I started experimenting more. Several times a week, I was hosting different groups on Zoom, allowing them to connect with each other, allowing them to be vulnerable with each other, and started to run trainings and workshops around it. Fast forward a couple more months, I ended up putting together, hold on, not this. But this, which is a 5-week virtual facilitator training, where I took all of the lessons that I've learned and I put them into this 5-week cohort and really helped build a community of people who can lead more engaging virtual sessions. So instead of me trying to impact every single person, I was teaching and training others who are leading meetings, who are leading workshops, who are running and facilitating what I call these magical human moments. And I'm very excited that today I'll share with you 2 main ingredients that I would say make this happen. Plus, because we're chatting about Ecamm and Zoom, I'll also reveal a little bit of the behind the scenes. Hang on, cue my behind the scenes camera in a little bit of how am I using Ecamm to create these engaging, magical, connected human moments. So if you are on board for that, then please let me know in the chat. Let me know, yes, I'm ready. Give me the high five, the double high five emoji if you like. And it's amazing to see some familiar people. Hi, Karen. She took my training, I think playfully. That's Adam. He took some of my workshops too. Awesome. And like I said at the beginning, at the end, I'll come back and we'll go into some questions. And the second part of the session is really based on your suggestions on where you want to take it. So I'll share some tips and then we'll open it up to questions. And thanks for actually give a big round of applause to the moderator from Ecamm who's helping me sort through those. So let's start. The 2 main ingredients that I like to think of when I am creating an experience are engagement and connection. For me, if those 2 things are not there, you really are not creating a exciting experience for your participants, for your audience, for your team members. And I think there have been way too many Zoom meetings where it's just one person talking for 99% of the time, or sharing slides and just being stuck in the little corner on the top for the whole duration. So the first thing that we want to do is engage right away. And what I mean by that is that there is one question that I have heard way too many times, really way too many times when it comes to people starting a Zoom call. And again, if you have heard this sentence that I will show on my screen in a moment, I want to know in the chat, and just type a me in the chat. Maybe that's a good one. So let's see. The sentence is, hold on, let me come back here. The sentence is this: let's just wait until everyone has arrived. If you have heard that sentence before on a Zoom call, type me in the chat. And I think there's going to be a lot of me's in the chat because I've heard it way too many times. I've also said it probably in the beginning a few times because I did not know about the idea of engaging people right away. Because what we're actually teaching people when this is happening, and feel free to answer that in the chat, is 3 things. Number 1, we are setting the tone that we never start on time, which means the people who showed up early actually get penalized for showing up on time. And then maybe the next time they won't show up on time anymore because they're like, well, we're just waiting for the first 5 minutes, so let me also arrive 5 minutes late, which then means that you have to wait another 5 minutes before you can get started. And it just keeps extending this time before you actually get started and have hopefully an effective, engaging meeting. The other problem around this is that it's allowing your participants to disengage as the first action when they come into the room. And I think it's so important that when people join your Zoom call, your Zoom meeting, that you reward them for showing up on time, and you ask them to engage right away. Because if we ask them to engage, if we get them to do something even so little at the beginning, they're more likely to take more risks and take bigger steps later on. And if you do it well, you might even get some comments like this. This was a testimonial somebody sent me about joining one of my workshops, that they were told by their boss to come, and they were not super excited, but within the first few minutes, they realized this was not going to be another stuffy Zoom call. And I think that's the type of comments we all should be getting for the meetings that we're leading. Because when you do that, immediately you have people ready to engage. So I'll share one example of a game that I like to do at the beginning of my Zoom calls, just for the first like 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes I even open the room up a couple minutes earlier to allow everyone who shows up a few minutes earlier to have a little bit more of the game, of that little activity. And then when everybody's there, after like 5 minutes, we actually get started with the official welcome. So sometimes this activity is also called the unofficial start. So let's have a look what the unofficial start activity looks like and how am I using Ecamm to do that. Let's see. All right, so first of all, because I know that there is going to be some questions before I do the activity, I actually want you to participate in the activity as well. You might have some questions about my setup, about the apps that I use, about my lighting, camera gear, all of that. So if you go to this link, jankeck.com/tools, I've basically listed all of the things that I'm using. So if you have any questions around that, you can open that up and I already find the answer for that. All right, so the game that I usually like to play is this. It's a little game where I have people guess the TV show or the movie. So it's using our pop culture knowledge. Sometimes I like to play soundtracks and have people guess by just hearing the sound. But in this case, I'm going to show you a set of emojis, and I want you to type into the chat what you think the correct answer is. And because we have a little bit of a delay, I might not wait until we guess everyone, but I still want you to participate and see if you can guess it in as the first person in the chat. So let's play some game show music in the background, and let's start with the first one. Can you guess this movie or TV show? Let's see, maybe I'll wait for the first one and I can start giving some more clues as the time goes on. One clue is it definitely has some pirates. There's some cocktails. I think by just saying pirates, it should already give you the answer for the movie. Let's see how long our delay is. And I think Dean has the correct answer. It was Pirates of the Caribbean. And good job, you get yourself a virtual trophy. Somebody post a trophy emoji for Dean in the chat. Amazing. All right, we'll do the next one. This one is going to be really easy, I think. Again, because there's a little bit of a delay, I might just start talking about how I'm using Ecamm to make this more engaging. So number one, I like to play some music in the background. Number two, you might have seen this little check mark come up. That's a little animated overlay that I like to play. And I think, was it again Dean who was first? Amazing. You get a check mark and you get a little trophy as well. And I have a few of these animated overlays that I can use. So let's see what the next one is. Here we'll do a little drum roll. Let's see who can guess this last one. Also, while we're there, Dan Katz was the wrong answer, you get the wrong buzzer for that one, unfortunately. It was The Lion King. Ooh, Ecamm, Dean. Did you see that? Ecamm just said that they'll send you something fun. Amazing. All right. So this last one is Frozen. James got the correct answer. So everybody give some applause to James and congratulations for guessing this one correctly. So this is just one activity that I like to do. There's a lot more that I have, but usually doing something like trivia works for almost every type of meeting, because people usually like that little bit of challenge in the beginning, and it's just rewarding. Ideally, the people who show up on time, they get to play a little game, test their knowledge. I also can do this if nobody has their video on. All I need is chat, as we just demonstrated by just using the YouTube chat right here. So awesome. Really cool that Ecamm is sending out something fun for the people who guessed it correctly. I did not know that. So thank you, Ecamm. All right. If anybody's interested in getting more ideas for different activities, the one thing that I just recently launched, and I just put together a little code for everybody who is joining from this call is, hold on, I need to come back over here, is a connection activities database. That's actually a database where I put all of the activities that really increase engagement and deepen connections for participants. There's a link here, and I'm giving 30% off to anybody who is joining from this workshop. So if you type in Zoom workshop before next week, Monday, so before this whole experience is over, you get 30% off. So that's my little gift to you today. But the one thing that I want to make sure is we start with something engaging. We invite our participants right away to do something. And even if that is as something simple as asking a question and having everyone share their answer in the chat. If it is using some of the Zoom features that aren't Ecamm features, but Zoom features like annotation, having them write something on the whiteboard or draw something, whatever it is that you can create for those first few minutes will really set the tone for the rest of the experience and will make people feel way more welcome. Talking about making people feel welcome, sharing people's names is a great way to get them on board. All right, so that's number one. Number one is engaging right away. I actually have 3 tips for you today. The second tip is staying connected. And usually what happens, hold on, wrong slide here. When we screen share on Zoom is this. You're stuck in this tiny little box. I don't even know if you can still see me. If you can see me, can you wave in the chat or type the wave emoji? We do a lot of screen sharing, I think, in meetings. And whenever we screen share, the focus is really on the content. And not everybody's slides are as beautifully designed with large pictures and very little text. Sometimes it's a lot of text. And whenever we make ourselves so small, we lose a little bit of the connection we have with our participants. And if you've ever been on Zoom, you know that switching between sharing your slides and then showing yourself and turning it off and then turning it on again, this always takes some effort and it takes some time, and we can't do it as quickly as we would like. Plus, I think there's way better ways to share our screens, right? So here's how I really use Ecamm. This is probably my second most favorite thing about using Ecamm. It gives me a lot of options of how I can share my slides and still be present with my participants. By the way, the first reason why I love Ecamm is because it allows me to use my DSLR camera, which is how I originally found out about Ecamm, was because I had all of this video gear lying around from my video production days, and I wanted to find a way to connect my camera to my laptop, and I downloaded the software, and then I realized about all the other features it has. So here's the 3 different scenes I use in almost every single workshop or Zoom call that I have, which the first one you're looking at right now, it's just me. The second one is, let me see, hit the right button this time. Well, that was not the right button. Hold on, we're gonna do this again. The second view is this, where I basically just share a square version of my slide. In this case, I just crop it on the sides. But this way, I can still move my video over to the side and still be the same height as I was before. If we compare that to here, right? I'm still taking up the same height, but I'm using that empty space next to me by just moving my video over to the side and then putting the slides next to me. So let's just come back over here. And then we can use some of the fun overlay animations to animate that and make it even more engaging. And now, of course, if I advance my slides, which I'm sharing through Keynote, by the way, I can still have animations. I can have all of that visible next to me. So this is a way more engaging way to switch between just me speaking. And also, the third view that I have, sometimes I have more information or it just doesn't fit into the square format. This is where I would show just the full slide and would put myself in the circle in the bottom. And believe it or not, almost every single time I facilitate on Zoom, I get the question, hey, how did you put yourself in a circle on top of your slides? And this is how I'm using the magic of Ecamm to put myself in the corner. And it requires one really important thing. And it took me a long time to get used to that, which is I need to redesign my slides. So as you can see right now, this slide works in this 16 by 9 view with me in the corner, but it also works on the side if I crop the sides. So I need to make sure if I'm showing just the square version of my slides, I can't have any important information on the corners. So all of that meant I needed to redesign my Keynote slides, and I'm happy to go more into the detail on how I do that and do some screen sharing later on if anybody's interested in that. But this is really how I make sure that, number one, I stay connected to my audience, because after all, when I'm super tiny, I'll come back over here, then people can't see my facial expressions, they can't see my gestures. I'm having a hard time connecting with someone. It's kind of like sitting in the back row at an in-person conference and you can't really make out the speaker. But once I come a little closer, that's where you can actually still connect with me and stay a bit more engaged. Plus, whenever I switch between those different views, something changes on the screen and it just wakes people up. Because again, what I see most of the time is people start sharing their screen at the beginning of the meeting and they don't stop until they wrap up, which means you're also never able to see the other participants in gallery view. And I actually love, as a trainer, as a facilitator, to always check back to gallery view and look at my participants if they have their cameras on. That's a great way to gauge of how engaged are they. And one thing that I would ask if you all were here on video is, hey, give me a head nod if you like looking at gallery view, or give me a thumbs up, or give me a finger wiggle. There's all these different ways I can ask for a quick confirmation by just asking for a little feedback. Because we don't have that today, I'm asking you to share it in the chat, as you've probably noticed already. Now, one other thing when it comes to staying connected with our audience, and I'm just realizing I have this diagram that I created just recently for my virtual facilitator training that I should have put in this presentation, but I don't have yet. So instead, I'm going to switch real quick into this little behind the scenes view. But I will also pop this up because I want you to look at one thing. There's one thing that I'm using that is right here. That is a little teleprompter that sits in front of my camera. And this is where I usually put my gallery view. So when I'm looking at my participants, I can see them, but they still feel like I'm looking at you. I'll just show you the difference here. So, let me put this guy back down. Right now, I'm looking at my teleprompter, which means I'm looking at you. And actually, I see that Kat Malvihil is on this call, who is doing another workshop after me. She was the one that got me over the hump into investing into a teleprompter. And here's why. Number one, I used to do this activity in person where I have two people partner up and I ask them to have a little conversation. But I brief that one person is not allowed to make eye contact. They can only look at the other person's ear, either side, while they're having this conversation. And maybe you can guess what the feeling was when somebody's looking at your ear the whole time while you're having a conversation. The thing that everybody has shared is they're up to something, they're shifty, I don't trust them. And all it was is literally an inch difference between looking someone in the eyes and looking at their ear. Now, if we think of spending time on Zoom and having our webcam on top of the camera and then our screen at the bottom, or even worse, having the screen on the side, this is what our participants might be looking at the whole time. You're constantly looking off to the side and it kind of feels like you're not making eye contact. And I know it's really challenging to make eye contact if you don't have a teleprompter, if you don't have something to look at. Like often people don't look back at us. So to me, there's this triangle. And actually, let me see if I can really quickly pull it up because I think it's great to see that as a visual. Hold on. PDF. Hold on. Okay, I found the right document, and let me just share this right here. This is another great thing about Ecamm. Just doing a quick screen share of documents is really easy. This is the workbook from my virtual facilitator training, and I just put together this diagram. Somewhere it's a triangle here. That is basically the webcam, your participants, and your slides or notes. And because we can't constantly make eye contact, we can't constantly look at the screen, the same way we don't make eye contact and we stare at people for the whole time when we chat with them. The idea is that our eyes make this triangle where we look at the webcam for a little bit, which is when participants feel like we're making eye contact with them, which to me is the most important. When they're sharing something, when they're telling something maybe challenging or vulnerable, making sure that they feel seen, they feel heard. I like to look at the lens. Number two is your participants, because we do take in information from their body language and their facial expressions. So that's important as a feedback. And number three, like you want to know what you're talking about, your slides, your notes. So I like to always make sure that my eyes are moving in this triangle kind of back and forth. So I'm glad that I found that quickly. All right, so that was the second thing that I highly recommend, is setting up some scenes in Ecamm where you can share your slides in a more interesting way. And not only are you oftentimes then larger than being stuck in the little corner on the side, the other thing that I love about it is switching from scene to scene is so much easier. Because what I usually do in Zoom is I will spotlight my own video, so it becomes large for everyone to see. And then I just hit different buttons on my Stream Deck to switch between this little side view which is missing something. It's missing a slide. There we go. The full screen view and then switching back to here. So that way I can do it with a hit of a button. I don't have to click stop screen share, get used to a different view again, then start screen share, pick the right screen share, choose my presentation. Like it's a lot of work. So Ecamm really helps with saving some time and also I would say tech headache for me. All right. The third thing is keep it interesting. And the one thing about Zoom is that it's very easy to use Zoom the way we used it at the beginning of 2020 or even before. If you were on Zoom before, maybe there is a way you use it. Maybe you use Microsoft Teams. This would apply to any software. Once you use it for a long time, you kind of get into the groove of just doing the same thing. And I would say that maybe it was okay before 2020 that you are doing a screen share from beginning to end, but now it doesn't cut it anymore. Like there's way too many people that are zoomed out because they're in back-to-back Zoom meetings all day, because they've just been thinking, why am I watching this presentation and this person talk at me for an hour if they don't ask me any questions or do breakout rooms or do something engaging and interactive. So to me, now we all have the responsibility, if we're leading meetings, to keep it interesting. And one thing that we can do is have these different scenes set up in Zoom. If you're just switching between you on the side, you full screen, and the slides full screen, and you in a circle, you can keep people engaged, at least visually. But I think that's still just scratching the surface, because what I would love for you to think of is, number one, let's use all of the amazing engagement features that we have built into Zoom. Like this is just a little list of things that you can do. Oh, hold on. Let's jump back into here. We can engage people in the chat. We can do breakout rooms. We can do a screen share. We can do polls. We can ask people to use the reactions button. We can switch from gallery view to speaker view, invite your participants to switch because it's on their end. We can use the whiteboard. We can use immersive view, where you can literally put yourself and your participants in a three-dimensional, or not three-dimensional, probably coming soon, but in a virtual space. We can ask people to unmute. And I'm even realizing the other thing I forgot, you can also share your slides as virtual backgrounds. Although I have to say, I actually did a YouTube video on that, on how to share slides as virtual backgrounds in Zoom. I prefer using the green screen feature in Ecamm because it's much cleaner and you have way more control over cropping the sides, adjusting the size, and just setting up your scenes so it flows a lot nicer. But as you can see, we have a lot of tools that probably are underutilized. Like, when was the last time you invited your participants, hey, everyone, let's switch to gallery view for this group discussion so we can see each other, and ask people to unmute. Talking about unmuting, remember at the very beginning, I shared that when you ask a question and nobody answers, and then all we get is crickets and tumbleweeds. Yeah, it happens even to me sometimes. But here's a little secret that I'll tell you on how to get over that. Because often when people don't want to share when you ask a question, if the question is not complicated and you're asking them to like come up with a, I don't know, mathematical concept that is over their heads, if you ask them to share a simple question and nobody responds, it's because they don't feel safe yet to speak up in front of the group, which means you haven't built enough trust and psychological safety. By the way, psychological safety is an amazing topic. I highly recommend looking up. There's an amazing TED Talk by Amy Edmondson. This is one thing that I love to do. Actually, a lot of my training is built around the idea of how can we build an experience so by the end, our participants are more likely to engage, they're more likely to participate, and we never have those crickets moments again. And I actually like to think of it as designing an experience, designing a meeting, the same as building a campfire. Maybe you've wondered why there's a campfire burning behind me, and it's not real. Fire alarm is not going to go off. It's not going to terrify my son. It's an LED light. Also did a YouTube video on that, on how I built that. But whenever I design an experience or Zoom meeting, I think of building a campfire. And let me actually show you what I mean, because I have a little slide for that. I call this the campfire formula. And the way it works is, we already talked about the unofficial start, our first activity that we invite our participants to do. To me, that is the first time we have an opportunity to do something that is a little bit below the surface level. Like the beginning, we have to take really small steps. We can't jump right in. And that's actually why I like to think of it as a campfire, because if you've ever built a campfire, you know that holding up a big log, holding up a lighter to a big log will not do anything. It will not catch fire, right? But we need that big log to have a big fire. But if we burn some paper first, then add some little sticks, add our bigger sticks, our kindling, then at the end we can add that big log on the fire, then it's actually going to burn. And it's the same thing when we facilitate or create experiences virtually. We have to start with something easy at the beginning. That's often our unofficial start. Maybe another connection activity in the beginning, maybe a little breakout room activity. Then we can put the next, now that we have the sparks, we can add the next bigger thing on the fire, and we can do an activity that requires maybe stepping outside people's comfort zone a little bit more. Like it's a little bit of a deeper activity. And then at the end, that's where we can have our biggest fire. And to me, the most challenging, the most vulnerable conversation, we need to work up to that. And often what I also witness is people asking people to do something that is way too uncomfortable, that is outside of their comfort zone, way too early, like as maybe the first or second thing. And that's when then you get the crickets. And for Dean, to make you feel at home from Nevada, I will play it again with the nice tumbleweed. If we want to avoid that, you really have to build this campfire step by step. So by the end, we can leave people with hopefully some transformation, some impact, something memorable. And it's not your usual Zoom meeting. But of course, this requires a lot more thinking and designing right from the beginning. So what are some other things that we can do to get people engaged? So we talked about using all of the different Zoom features. We also talked about changing our slides and views and using different scenes in Ecamm. And the third thing I like to think of, and we've done a few of those here, at least attempted, because on YouTube Live we only have the chat. But if I had reactions, if I had videos on, I would be doing a lot more of what I call micro engagements. And micro engagements are just little asks, little prompts that I would give to my participants to engage, even just a little bit. And the earlier we start, the better. But some things that I ask people for is, give me a head nod if you're ready to go to the breakout room, or give me a thumbs up if you had a fun time, if you met somebody new in this last breakout room session, or give me a finger wiggle if this makes sense. Right? So there's all these different things we can do. Type yes in the chat. One of my favorites, if you only have chat, writing other words in the chat, like got it, like ready. I asked you earlier to write cricket or type emojis in the chat. If you are on Zoom, we can use the reactions buttons, which, by the way, the really cool thing about the reactions button is that it doesn't require participants to have their video on. Because sometimes, and I've learned this at the very beginning, having the video off is not necessarily a bad thing. Having your video off doesn't mean that the person is disengaged. It might be that they have bad internet connection. It might be that something's happening behind them. Like beginning of the pandemic, when my son was home, the changing table was behind me, and my wife had to sometimes change a diaper while I'm on a Zoom call. So I might turn my video off because nobody needs to see that, right? So there's different reasons why people have their cameras off, and it doesn't mean that they're disengaged, because they can use the chat, they can use reactions buttons, and they could possibly even unmute. And I've had the most engaged participants using the chat so much that I felt like I was having a conversation with them. They would answer a question in the chat, I would reply, they comment in the chat again, so we would go back and forth because they didn't have a chance to unmute or have their video on. So remember, reactions buttons is a great way to ask for engagement if cameras can be on. And then what else did I write down on there? Posting emojis in the chat. We've already done that here too. Scale from 1 to 10 or meme. I actually don't have the slide prepared for that. But the idea is that if cameras are on, we can check in on a scale from 1 finger to 10 fingers. I can have people just vote really quickly and show them into the camera to get a sense of where everyone's at. I can ask participants to write a number from 1 to 10 in the chat. Actually, if you've learned something from, we need to do it on a scale. So if you learned a ton in this workshop so far, give me a 10. If you have learned nothing, give me a 0, and maybe any number in between. And let's see where everybody is at, because in a moment we are going to switch in a little bit more of a Q&A. I'll check out what all the questions are, and we can chat a little bit more. So that's one way to do a check-in on the scale from 1 to 10. And the scale of meme, well, let's do it. Let's jump into Google here. And let me actually pull something up, because we're doing this live. We can be interactive, right? I have my button programmed to do my screen share, and I have the browser open, so why not? So I literally just typed in scale of meme on Google, and there's all these fun images of sheep. Actually, I love using this sheep one of, on the sheep scale, how are you feeling today? And I would put this up. I would have participants either drop the number into the chat or use the annotation feature in Zoom, which is another way where participants can annotate on your slides. Now, the important thing for that, for anybody who's using Ecamm to share their slides, people won't be able to annotate on your video. So for this, if you want to use annotation, you actually have to go to share screen, select the browser, the image, your slide, and then enable annotation for your participants. And then they can stamp it with hearts and stars. And that way you can do a little check-in based on the question. Like all of these are, how are you doing today? But you could also say, how did you enjoy the session today on a scale from 1 to 9 of these cats? Let me know in the chat. So again, lots of different ways we can engage our participants. And I'm glad that Russell is going to use this. And I love the term of the interaction quotient. I love that. Very cool. Okay, what else do we have? Right, so one thing that I want you to remember, which is at the beginning I said there's 2 things that I would say really make boring Zoom meetings more exciting and especially more valuable for all of the participants. If you remember the 2 things, can you type them in the chat? And I'll actually give you a moment because I know we have a little bit of a delay. And check in. Okay, I can see that there are some 10s and 10.2s and 11s and 100 from 1 to 10 of how much value people have gotten so far, which is good. Oh my God, there even is a 100,000. Wow, that is amazing. I love to hear that. And Dean seems to be the first or the quickest one on the chat, but I can also see Dan got it right after. The 2 things, and Kirsten got it too. You all are correct. The idea is engagement and connection. And we talked a bit about engagement, but there's one thing that Zoom does really well that unfortunately Ecamm doesn't support a lot, but I do need to talk about, which is breakout rooms. Because to me, connections between participants are so important before we even get to the content. The more they connect with each other, the more they will build trust, the more you will build psychological safety to then allow them to step outside of their comfort zone. So one important thing when designing any experience that I want you to keep in mind is this. Authentic connections don't happen online unless we design them. If you have attended an in-person experience, an in-person meeting, which I'm sure you have, you probably are familiar with standing in line to get into a venue, or standing in line to get a coffee, or standing in line to get to the washroom, or just sitting down next to a person waiting for the program to start, and you start chatting and you start meeting people. Maybe after the session is over, you go up to the speaker, you have a conversation, some other people also have a question, you start chatting, you go for lunch afterwards, you go for drinks to a bar. You actually make these really cool connections. That's one reason why I love going to conferences. But online, on Zoom, this just doesn't happen. Like, there is no lineup to get into the venue. There's no chatting to your neighbor before you get started, unless we as the hosts design activities to actually make that happen. So thinking of how can we use breakout rooms? How can we use like people sharing out loud and commenting on each other to create these connections online is something that I'm really passionate about. If anybody's interested in learning more about that, I'll drop a link to some trainings. There's some pre-recorded stuff that I have done that literally is called From Crickets to Connected. So how to get from our little cricket friend here to the participants being so connected that this will not happen anymore. And of course, my 5-week virtual facilitator training. So happy to share more about that. But to wrap up our session, I thought I'll just go over maybe some of the most important things here. How I've been using Ecamm specifically in my session design, in my workshops, in my meetings. So here's a little summary. How I use Ecamm. First of all, the reason why I originally found it was because I really love the idea of using a DSLR as my webcam. I get a lot of comments from people, oh my God, your image looks so great. How are you doing that? Can you recommend which webcam you're using? And often it is, I am using a Canon 77D. Again, if you go to jankeck.com/tools, you can see the exact specifications and lens that I use. But using Ecamm to connect my webcam, to connect my DSLR as a webcam is maybe the number one reason. Number two, I like to stay connected when I'm sharing my screen. So rather than going through the complicated way of using Zoom's features, I like to switch between having content on the side, having content on full screen and me in a circle, and me just full screen back and forth. The third thing I do is I like to turn Zoom into a game show sometimes. So using the different effects, like having different animated overlays that I created that I can launch and do different things on the screen really help with the engagement part. And then immerse your audience in your stories. So you probably remember, if you're here at the beginning, that I was telling you the story of creating this Facebook event. Let me actually see if I can go back here. So I told you the story of creating a Facebook event, of being on Zoom, of meeting people for this virtual group hug, of being stuck in this laptop, right? All of these different scenes will really help immerse your participants, your audience, into your stories a little bit more. And they're very easy to do with Ecamm. So that's, I think, the end of the list, except I forgot one important thing to put on this list, which is this. Let me actually grab something here. Oh, let me pop this guy back down, which is this. Timers. I use timers a lot when I do journaling activities, when I do partner activities, when I just want to give people a break. I will put up a timer, and doing it with Ecamm is so easy. And then using Stream Deck with a button to make it kind of animate and animate out. I put together like a bunch of different ones. Like there, I have like a minute, I have like a 5 minute. They change sometimes depending on what I need. And even sometimes I use the little stopwatch to just test, like, how long does something take? So there are lots of different features that I love to use to just keep people engaged. I think, let me know what questions you have. I'm going to do a quick search for the letter Q, which I know you've been using to post some questions, and maybe we can go into some of those details. But thanks for staying for this session. This was super fun. I love getting so much engagement in the chat because usually I'm used to seeing people in Zoom. All right, let me do a quick search and going back to the top. Okay, I am going to start here. And Ecamm, I see, has already, some of the moderators have already replied to this, but I'll share where I go for movie soundtracks and licensing issues and playing soundtracks. So I'm not a lawyer, first of all. So if you are worried about copyrighted tracks, please make sure you consult with a lawyer. What I've been doing in my Zoom calls that are not public, like people have to register to join, I do play songs from Spotify. I do play movie soundtracks simply by using Spotify, and actually use Loopback to connect that, which some of you are familiar with as well. And if I'm not using it, if I'm doing live streaming, and I think you heard me play some thinking music earlier, which I'll just put up back in the background for a little bit. This is actually downloaded through the Stream Deck app. So Stream Deck, which is this little device, let me hold it up in here. A larger device that has different programmable buttons. This is where they allow you to download different royalty-free music, and then I can start and stop it with a button. And then there's different websites. If you just search royalty-free music, there's places where you can purchase it. There's places where you can download it for free. But that's a great thing to look at. All right, let me just scroll back down because there were a lot of questions. All right. I'm going to go through them a little bit and see. Okay, I see, Valerie, you had the same question, so that's great. James has a question on using Keynote over PowerPoint when using Ecamm. Do you have a preference and why? I have a Mac, so that allows me to use Keynote. If you don't have a Mac, I guess you can't use Ecamm or Keynote. But I do love the ease of use, and I've just been using it for such a long time that I never really looked at switching to PowerPoint. There also is a really cool feature in Keynote that I've only started to experiment with recently, which is you can now add live video to Keynote. So let me share this screen. This is actually taking a video that I have connected through a, what is it called? Like a HDMI USB adapter. So it's taking my camera feed in, and this is actually just sharing my whole Keynote window. So I'm not using Ecamm currently. I'm just using Ecamm to stream onto YouTube, but all of this I could easily share also then directly to Zoom. So this is one cool feature that I don't think PowerPoint does yet, And unfortunately, it's a little bit, it's not as smooth, like the video quality is not as great. And I think that has to do with my camera and the adapter that I'm using. So I'll be exploring how to fix that. If anybody has suggestions, please reach out to me afterwards, because this looks a little bit smoother. I have more control over also adjusting the color and the look in Ecamm. But yeah, I'm sure you can do a lot of things with PowerPoint too. It's just not a software that I have looked into. And then there are a lot of people who are asking about my teleprompter setup. So the teleprompter that I have up here is literally the cheapest one I found on Amazon that fits an iPad. So I just have, I think I can't take it out right now, but basically on the bottom here, I have an iPad. I also got like the cheapest iPad I could find that runs the newest OS. And then I use a software called Do It Display, that allows me to mirror the image, because that's the challenge with using teleprompters. If you don't have any software, it will not mirror your image and all your text will be reverse, which is maybe fine if you're just looking at gallery view. But if you want to have text on the screen, then using a software like that is really important. Unfortunately, I wish the teleprompter was bigger, because sometimes it's getting a little bit hard to see things. But it's been going well enough. And with the Do It Display software, it does, like it's not 100% reliable, but I would say it works 95% of the time. Sometimes it kind of pauses for a couple seconds and then comes back on, but I have not found any issues. I've been using it pretty much nonstop since the fall last year. Yeah. Okay, let me come back here. I am just checking because there's a lot more comments coming in as I'm going through these questions. I don't want to miss anything. Okay. I will come back to if there's new questions. I'm just going to go through this. A training using PDF in Ecamm. It is really easy. You just take a PDF and you drag it onto your screen and voila, you have the PDF on the screen. If I did have something handy, I would do that, but it is literally that easy. And then you can move it around. You can resize it the same way you would do with any overlay. Ben, is it possible to show individual chat comments in Zoom, like on live streaming platforms? As far as I know, it is not possible. I could share the Zoom chat window as a overlay next to me, but that would show all of the messages. It would not show individual ones. That's at least what I think. And I think, did somebody yesterday, I don't remember if it was Doc, somebody showed that yesterday how to add the chat to the screen. And thank you, Kat, for sharing some more details about the teleprompters. Yes, small monitors are great, which don't need a software solution. Doesn't require Wi-Fi connection. You can just mirror your image. I will look into that at one point, probably. Russell, how many scenes overlays do I use for this? So one thing that I do a little bit differently than some other people is I don't like to design everything in Ecamm. I actually love designing things in Keynote because to me that's a much better workflow, especially when I'm creating lists or animations of changing slides and having text animate one by one. I feel like Ecamm is making it a little bit more challenging for my workflow. So often, like most basic setup, I will have 3 scenes. The ones that I showed earlier. One is me full screen. One is, let me just switch back to a different slide. One is a slide on the side. And then one is, oh, hold on. It's missing the slide. Slide in the middle and me in the corner. So those are basically the 3 scenes I use almost every single time, and that allows me to just design everything in Keynote. And then there's a few things that I have kind of set up in Ecamm that are the different animated overlays. I have, of course, like subscribe to my YouTube channel animation. I have, maybe you saw this earlier, a kind of share in the chat, little speech bubble. So there's a couple of things here that I have set up in Ecamm, but I don't actually know how many scenes I have. There's way too many. I really need to clean up. Hope that answers the question a little bit. Yes, keeping it simple. That's the idea. Okay. I see, Kirsten, you wanted to know more about my setup. So I'm not sure if I already answered that question by just sharing a little bit. If you want to know something in particular, please post another comment. How do you create your own graphics? So yes, a lot of the graphics I created myself. Even a lot of the kind of animated overlays I created myself by looking at purchasing some sound effects. I actually licensed a emoji pack so I can use all of those images for free. Because I am also selling some of these overlay animations. So I wanted to make sure that I have all the rights for them. And then in terms of the slides, I love using 3 or 2 royalty-free picture archives. One is pexels.com. And actually, let's use Ecamm for this, because if we can just quickly add a little link on the screen, why not? So this is one site that I use, and the other one is Unsplash. Whoops. Okay, they're a little bit big, but sometimes I will use Ecamm to do things like this on the fly, which is also something that I couldn't do in Zoom. Again, there I would not be able to add text on my screen. So those are 2 things I use to design my own graphics and slides. Marcel, I already answered this one. Yes, you can create timers very easily, and just click the timer button. Actually, let me see if I can. Let's do some screen sharing, because people were also asking me about my setup, and maybe this way you'll see a little bit more. So you should be seeing demo mode. Hold on, right now. And actually, I'm not sure if this worked. Oh yes, I think it's working. If you go down here, where is it? And you click this little button, it will open up the timer. And then you can literally just type in the time, click add. You can customize, of course, where you want to put it. You can customize the color, all of that. And there you go. Sometimes I put them up kind of spontaneously as well. All right. What other questions? Purple light behind me. Yes, since I moved to Germany, I actually invested a lot into kind of optimizing my setup. The light bulbs that I use are also just these LED light bulbs that connect. They're kind of similar to the Philips Hue, but they're like the knockoff no-name brands on Amazon, but they work pretty reliably. I use the Smart Life app on my phone or my iPad to control them, and I can simply change the RGB colors. And then behind the fire, I have one light that I was going to write something. It's kind of like a neon sign. It's like this flexible LED string. I was going to write something behind me, but I have not done that yet. And it's a little bit too short to write the things I want, or it doesn't bend as much. But with that, you can create a little bit. Plus, I have one of those light bulbs also in the ceiling. So that's a great way to do that. Okay. How many subscription-based tools are you using to pull this type of presentation off? Let me think. So I'm using Ecamm. I'm using Zoom, which both are subscriptions. I am using Loopback, which I'm actually not sure if that was a one-time purchase or is also a subscription. And I think that's it. Yeah. Not that many. Can you show your Ecamm panel? Of course. I will try to do demo mode again. And let's see if this works. So this is kind of what I'm usually looking at, and I have that on a separate screen. So rather than having everything on one screen, which is what I started with, is then I added 2 screens, and then I added 3 screens, and I think it's maybe a little bit of an addiction where sometimes you just keep adding screens. But I'm very happy with the 3 screens, where in the middle I have my teleprompter, I have my notes. On the side, I have Ecamm. I also have other apps open, but I don't need to look at them all of the time. So I also have my Loopback open if I need to change any settings there. I have my Spotify open on that monitor. Actually, I think it might be better to show you this, where you see a little bit more. So this monitor here is kind of my Ecamm and other apps. This is my teleprompter. And then on that side, I currently have kind of the YouTube video. I have my notes, and I love using Notion for that to organize my notes. And I have like my whole database of connection activities is built on there, so I can easily search things, plug them in when I'm doing similar workshops. And that's pretty much it. Right. Well, if I'm using Zoom, then the Zoom gallery view would be in the middle here. So I can actually see people. That's kind of where I'm focusing on the most. And then I have a button programmed on my Stream Deck where I can easily switch between speaker view and gallery view. So when I need to see my own slides, I might go to speaker view. When I want to see people, I go to gallery view, and it's literally touching a button to switch back and forth really quick. Okay, I think this question was the code for the connection activities database. So I'll put that up again. The code I think that I put was simply Zoom Workshop. And did I spell it correctly? Yes, I did. So Zoom Workshop, this is the database. Like I said, I have it in Notion where I organize all of my activities. Right. Okay, jumping back here. I love your questions, by the way. There are so many great questions. And anybody who's interested in connecting with me, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the 2 places, and YouTube, of course, where I'm most active. And I think I somewhere have also, well, where is it? I do have a little name thing. I think this one here, it's Mr. Jan Kek on most social media. So you can find me, you can follow me there. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out after this. Okay, I see another question about teleprompter. So, oh, that's not what I wanted to hide. I wanted to hide this and show this comment. Why not just use a teleprompter below the camera instead of a confidence monitor? To me, when I look at someone, when I look at my screen, I'm kind of looking at myself right now in place of the participants I usually would look at, or the people that I am talking to on Zoom, I can hold eye contact, and at the same time, I can pick up their body language, their facial expressions, and it is like I am making eye contact in real life. So if I had a confidence monitor, I constantly would have to check on the bottom, and just doing this little difference of just looking below my camera a little bit is breaking the eye contact. So if I want to really stay connected with my participants, that's why I use a teleprompter. Is this a real campfire? No. I do have a video where I go through how I set this up. I'm sure I'll link it. I'll try to link all of the things I mentioned in the description of the video afterwards. So make sure to check that out. Where are you seeing your chat thread? James, I think you are talking about the Ecamm comments. And actually right now I have it, let me jump back here, on this monitor here. Because I had other things happening here earlier, I didn't want to take up the space. But now that I'm doing this Q&A, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it to my screen in the middle. So that way I can now look at the chat over here rather than having to look off to the side, and see what comments I have already replied. Ooh, this is a good question. Actually, one challenge that I really needed to figure out. Can you connect 3 monitors to a Mac Mini? I actually use an M1 Mac Mini as well. And unfortunately, it only allows you to connect one monitor through their USB-C and one through HDMI. So you can only have 2 monitors unless you're mirroring one of those monitors. But to have 3 different ones, that's one of the reasons why I ended up also with this teleprompter, and using just a monitor did not work for me, because the creating like a virtual third monitor using the Duet Display software, I'm now able to connect it and have something different on that screen. So it is a little bit of a workaround. I am considering upgrading my Mac Mini at one point, and maybe that will allow me then to have more screens. And the one thing I want to share about all of the technology, like we started talking about connection and engagement, and I think that there's so much that can be done with just the simple tools on Zoom, with just the simple, like even just using Ecamm to add one little thing to your Zoom calls is going to really make you stand out. So it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. And I didn't start like this. I was using just my laptop, and it was getting really loud with the fan blowing. But on my MacBook Pro, it did work. I had only one screen. Then I found an old iPad, and I downloaded an app to use the iPad as a second screen. Then I actually invested into a little monitor. And then when I moved here to Germany, I said, okay, I'm basically rebuilding my whole studio. I'm going to get 2 good monitors. I'm going to get, I brought my teleprompter. I bought a new iPad, because now I have one other iPad that I sometimes connect and I would use as a whiteboard or take notes. So with every investment, you upgrade a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary to create something really engaging. And definitely you should not wait until you have the technology before you even start. I think that's, again, going back to my video production days, one of the things I hear from so many video creators. They're like, well, I don't have the camera yet. I don't have the lighting yet. I don't have the right microphone. I mean, you can create some pretty nice, amazing, engaging content with just this smartphone in your pocket to get started. And then every time you do something, you improve. Every time you do a live stream, every time you run a workshop, you improve, you get better. And one thing I do with my workshops, I always make sure that I take a moment to write down what are the things that worked really well that I want to do again? What are the things I can improve? What are the new things I want to try next time? And I review that before I run the same workshop or session the second time. So yeah, don't let tech kind of hold you back. All right. I can see one more question. Kirsten wants me to talk about my community. So I'm not exactly sure when I shared my community, because I say it in a few different ways, or there are a few different communities that I manage. But the main one is what I call the Deep Connectors community. And it is for people who have taken any of my workshops, taken any of my trainings. You get access to this community, which is hosted on Mighty Networks. And it is people who train, people who facilitate, people who lead groups, and really value the element of human connection. So I host different events in there. That's also where my connection activities database is hosted, where my trainings are hosted. So as soon as you sign up for something, you get an invite to that community and some more ongoing events and Q&As and office hours and all kinds of fun things. All right, I'm going to scroll all the way down the questions for a second. And yes, Kirsten, if you're looking for the Ecamm community, that is also a really awesome place. The Ecamm fam is pretty amazing. If you have any questions about things, posting things on their Facebook group gets you an answer pretty quickly. Cool. I think I need to do another search for some questions. Did I miss anything? I'm just doing another search to see if there is something that I missed. But if you have another question, please let me know. I know in half an hour, Kat is going to take over. So I want to make sure that we end on time and give you an opportunity to run to the washroom and grab some fresh air and maybe a snack to eat. Because I know the one thing that that has been challenging for a lot of people is the back-to-back Zoom meetings, the back-to-back sessions where you can't really take a moment in between. So I like to usually start either 15 minutes later or 50 minutes before the top of the hour, just to allow a little bit of a buffer. Okay, I can see there are some more questions that are coming up. I think, where is it? Okay, I lost the question, but I see Kevin has a question that I just saw pop up. Closing a session is important. How do you do it in a way that leaves the listener wanting more or feeling good about it? First of all, I would call them participants, listeners. Hopefully they're also watching, not just listening. But it's probably the same if they were just listening. I think closing a session is important. I am realizing one thing that I would never do, and I'm close to doing it right now, is ending with a Q&A. Because I think a Q&A at the end, it's like slowly fading out. You're not really ending on something meaningful. And usually people will remember the first thing. They will remember the last thing. They might not remember anything in between. So I think closing a session powerfully is always ending with a meaningful summary of some sort, or, and here's the other thing that I usually do, because in my Zoom experiences, the sessions that I run, when I work with organizations and teams and getting them to connect in a deeper way, is that people get quite vulnerable, and I don't want to leave them hanging at the end. So I always offer, I will stay on for another 15 minutes at the end for anyone who wants to debrief and have this extra time to chat and connect. If you think about in person, if you attend a session that was really impactful for you as a participant, as an audience member, you might come up to the speaker and chat with them for a little bit to just help you resolve something. So I like to recreate that on Zoom, because often we will end the call, we will click the end meeting button, and everybody's just like, they're still in the same spot, but suddenly they feel really alone. And one of my missions is, with all of that technology, my core mission has nothing to do with technology. It is to help people feel less alone. Because I believe that that's the true challenge that we're all facing. And that was my mission before we went online. And I used to run my workshops, like I said, without technology. And I even created these cards with deep questions on them that are literally cardstock that don't require Wi-Fi or batteries or anything. And when we went online, I realized, wow, this is a challenge. Like, how can we be present with each other if we have technology in our hand and we can't turn it off anymore? So yeah, if we can help people feel less alone and don't get overwhelmed with technology, then I think that's a win for everyone. So if anybody is interested in learning more about that, please reach out. Check out some of the links that Ecamm has shared in the chat. I'll also drop some of them in the description of this video. But I'll close it here, so you do have a little bit of time to connect with maybe the people that are around you, maybe some of the other people that you've met in the chat. Please make sure you connect, you check out each other's channels. I'm sure you all are up to some amazing things. I will do that afterwards. But I'm gonna go outside right now and spend some time with my son, who just got a kiddie pool today, because it is a pretty hot day here in Germany. Thank you again. I will hopefully see you again soon. Come join me on my YouTube channel, and we can continue this. I do live streams all the time. See you soon.